We're going to start factoring trinomials. So what that means for us is we're going to start with a three-term expression. And remember again, we're restricting to only one as the leading coefficient in section 3.5. And we want to come up with two binomial factors. So let's look at how we're going to approach this. We want to arrange algebra tiles into a rectangle. And when we do that, we'll get a length and a width and an area. The length and the width will be the factors of the trinomial, and the area is the original trinomial. I'll show you what I mean. So in example 4, we have algebra tiles set up to represent 1v squared, 12v tiles, and 20 unit tiles. These form a rectangle, a perfect rectangle. This is my area. That's my rectangle. In order to find the length and the width, we have to look at the two dimensions and say, what tile is exactly this long? Well, that would be a V tile. What tile is exactly this long? Well, that would be a unit tile. So our job is to figure out how many V tiles and how many unit tiles we would need to fit along this total area. So it would be one V tile and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 unit tiles long. Our width would be a V tile long and then 2 unit tiles wide. So my length and my width could be represented by V plus 10 and V plus 2. When I multiply those out, I'll get my area, which is my V squared plus my 12V plus 20. Our goal now is to be able to come up with these two factors given this trinomial. All right, you're going to work on the your turn. After we've completed the 3 your turn questions, we can look at each trinomial and the resulting binomial factors. And I want to know, what do we notice? Well, if you wanted to check your answers, you could multiply this out using FOIL and you would get the original trinomial. The other thing I want you to remember is all of these polynomials had a leading coefficient of 1. That's important. That changes in section 3.6. I want you to look at the numbers just for a second. The 5 and the 4. The 6, the 8, the 4, and the 4. And I want you to look closely at each of the numbers in the factors. 1 and 4. 4 and 2, and 2 and 2. And what I want for you to remember, and this is going to how factoring for you with a leading coefficient of 1 is going to be made simpler for you, is if I look at the two numbers in the resulting factors, 1 plus 4 is 5, 4 plus 2 is 6, and 2 plus 2 is 4. And those numbers, 5, 6, and 4, are the coefficients of the x term. That's our middle term. That's important. Then I want you to go back just for a second and look at the last number. If I look at the constant term in each of these, 1 multiplied by 4 is 4, 4 multiplied by 2 is 8, and 2 multiplied by 2 is 4. And that gives us the constant term. This idea of a product and a sum is going to help us out when we go to factor in just a little bit. So here's what I need for you to remember. If we're factoring and the leading coefficient in your trinomial is 1, check for that. Then the two numbers that you're going to be looking for your factors must add to give you a sum of this middle term, the coefficient of x, and they have to multiply to give you this constant term at the end. We're going to call that our sum product method.